What is up, ladies and gentle nerds? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHocks42 on the internet, and today we are looking at an interesting standard deck that I think is a whole heck of a lot of fun. Before we jump into the cards, though, I want to thank you so much for tuning in and for checking out this video. If you enjoy what you see, please like and subscribe. It makes a huge difference. Okay, so this deck is designed around a couple of different cards, but the main engine, the main key piece that ties it all together is Charix the Raging Isle. This card is a 0/17. That's right, its power is 0, but its toughness is 17 for 4, 2 blue. And it says spells your opponent casts to target Charix the Raging Isle cost 2 more to cast, and you can pay 3 to give Cherix plus X minus X until end of turn, where X is the number of islands you control. Now, we don't care about either of those abilities. The thing that we care about is that 17 toughness. That is that's a big old booty, and we want to take advantage of it. And so I'm sure you're wondering, how do we do that? Well, the first thing first, we have a number of different ways to do so, because that is a cool stat line, but if we only have one way to capitalize on it, we're going to fall flat. And so this deck actually has 3 different ways that we can take advantage of that stat line and deliver a victory. So let's get into that. One of them is Ancient Lumberknot. Each creature controls with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So this is another 4-drop when both are in play. Cherix is effectively a 17/17. Now that said, it's effectively a 17/17. Now it's not actually a 17/17. Its power is still technically 0, but it deals 17 points of damage in combat. The reason that's relevant is because we have another interesting tool in Thieves Tools. Thieves Tools says when it enters the battlefield, you create a treasure token. Neat, that doesn't hurt anything. Equipped creature can't be blocked as long as its power is 3 or less. And it equips for 2 after you play it for 1 and a black. So what we can do is equip Thieves Tools to Cherix, and then all of a sudden we have a creature that is a 0/17, so it has 0 power, therefore it's unblockable, but it hits for 17 points of damage. So that effectively becomes an unblockable 17/17. That's pretty darn nice, and that can be swinging as early as turn 5 if we're really lucky with the way the Thieves Tools lines up. In all likelihood, it's probably going to be turn 6 or 7 before we're getting that down, which could be a little too slow, in all honesty, for the current standard, because right now standard is lightning fast. But that is one option that we have for bringing the game to a conclusion in our favor. Now, that's one way we can do it. How else can we do it, you might ask? Well, we also have Geralf, Visionary Stitcher. Stitcher Supplier is a whole other thing. Great card, not standard legal. Geralf Visionary Stitcher. It is 2 and a blue for a 1/4 that says zombies you control have flying, which is pretty nice, even though you'll notice we have very few zombies in the deck. But that's okay, because Geralf can just make them. 1 blue, tap, sacrifice another non-token creature, create an XX blue zombie creature token where X is the sacrificed creature's toughness. So what we're doing there is we are transforming Charix, the Raging Isle, from a 0/17 land crab that's on the ground into a flying 17/17. It's literally a 17/17. It's not a 0/17 that hits like a 17/17. Is literally a flying 17/17 zombie abomination thing, and that's great. So that is another way that we can leverage Cherix's toughness to create a threat that is capable of closing out the game. Now, that said, that token has a couple of weaknesses. It is capable to be hit by, say, something like the Black Inscription card that says destroy target creature with mana value 3 or less, because the token has no mana value. So that's a bit of an issue. It can also be bounced and effectively destroyed that way. So that's not a wonderful solution. It's not a foolproof plan. There are ways that the opponent can respond to it, but it is one option, and redundant options is the name of the game with this deck. Now, the last way that we can drive this thing home is with Catapult Fodder. Catapult Fodder is an uncommon from Crimson Vow that is jank to the extreme. This card says at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures that have toughness greater than their power, you transform Catapult Fodder. So if you have toughness tribal, you can flip Catapult Fodder, and once you flip Catapult Fodder, it becomes Catapult Captain that has an ability: pay 2 and a black, tap, sacrifice another creature, target opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. So that is just flinging Cherix directly into our opponent's face for 17 damage. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, wait a minute, Graham, 17 damage, that's not enough to close out the game. And for that, you're completely correct. If we're going with Catapult Captain as our win condition, we have to rely on a couple of other things. And a couple of other things include Ruin Crab, which is a 0/3, which we can fling for that additional 3 points of damage, which can deal that 20 to our opponent, potentially. We also have, and Ruin Crab is in here for the stats. It is a 0, the fact that it's a 0/3 means it can block early, and that 3 toughness we can take advantage of Ruin Crab in all the same ways that we can take advantage of Cherix, except for a little bit less, but the mana is also significantly less as well. So that's why Ruin Crab is in here. Also, another cool thing about Ruin Crab is it tends to eat removal. If your opponent has something like an Infernal Grasp in hand, they will usually spend it to get rid of Ruin Crab, assuming that you're going to mill them out. This deck doesn't care about the mill. It's irrelevant, frankly. Being able to, if we do mill some of our opponent's threats, great, but that's not what it's for. At the end of the day, this is just an additional booty to take advantage of. That sounded weird. Anyway, we also have Horde Robber, which is a 1/3 for 2 that whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. This actually wears Thieves Tools very, very nicely, especially if the Ancient Lumberknot is in play, because then it becomes an unblockable 3/3. So that actually works out really, really nicely, and it's a 3 toughness creature that we can also fling the Catapult Fodder or use Geralf to transform into a 3/3 flying zombie. So Hoard Robber is another great, big toughness creature that's actually very mana efficient and fits nicely along the curve that's designed to help us out. We also have Thieves Tools, as previously mentioned. We have Meathook Massacre in here as well. Because our creatures all have pretty big toughness, Meathook Massacre is designed to get rid of our opponent's small threats. This was, when I originally put it in the deck, I was envisioning, again, going up against mono white, being able to snipe Luminarch Aspirants early, as well as Ushers of the Fallen and those types of things. Although, and I'm actually not streaming right now, but thank you for the follow. But the Meathook Massacre, I have found with things like Thalia and Elite Spellbinder on the field, they actually, they can disrupt the Meathook Massacre pretty consistently, which is definitely a problem. So this is one of those cards, to be honest, I'm kind of falling. It's a powerhouse. It is, but I don't know that it fits in this deck as well as I want it to. It's possible that some other big toughness creatures might be more beneficial, or targeted spot removal like Infernal Grasp or Baleful Mastery might fit in better. So that's something there. There's Geralf. There's also Dragon Turtle. Dragon Turtle is a 3/5 for 3 with Flash, with an ability Drag Below. When Dragon Turtle enters the battlefield, tap it and up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. They don't untap during their controller's next untap step. So this is especially useful if your opponent is beating you down. If your opponent is doing if your opponent has a large creature on board, or potentially a big flyer that you can't deal with, this is a great way to pin it down for 2 turns. Additionally, this gives us a 5 toughness creature that we can take advantage of in all of the same ways that we take advantage of all of our other big toughness creatures. So that's another great piece of the puzzle that fuels the engine nicely. Then we also have Morbid Opportunist, because it is also a 1/3, so it's another body that we can use in all these interesting ways. But it also says whenever one or more creatures dies, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So we are going to be drawing cards whenever creatures are dying. Now you'll notice that a lot of our creatures have the tendency to die in combat, especially if we're going up against aggro decks like the mono green and mono white deck that we're seeing a lot on the ladder right now. So there's that. So our creatures are going to be blocking, and some of those blocks aren't going to be favorable. So turning those into cards in hand that could potentially be combo pieces that can help us close out the game goes a long way. Additionally, Geralf, as well as the Catapult Captain, are both going to be sacrificing our creatures for value. And so when we sacrifice our creatures for value, being able to draw some additional cards, it also feels pretty darn good. So that's pretty great. Like, at the end of the day, Morbid Opportunist fits nicely. It's also a must-kill threat. When your opponent plays something like a Morbid Opportunist, you got to deal with it. And so when we're playing it out, our opponents are going to have to deal with it. Otherwise, we have an opportunity to draw a fair number of cards. Now, we aren't doing the Shambling Gas Deadly Dispute combo just because it doesn't really fit the theme of this deck, which really makes a Morbid Opportunist really sing. But at the end of the day, I think we do have enough to really make it work. Deadly Dispute actually might fit in this deck as well, now that I look at it. So that's one of those, if you wanted to add it, maybe in place of Meathook Massacre, I can see some benefit to that. Being able to deadly dispute a Ruin Crab early in order to fill out your hand and ramp you into Cherix might actually be the answer now that I'm looking at it. So that's a thought. That's one way we can go. Also, I'd love your thoughts on the deck. The entire deck list is going to be in the show notes of this video. So, and feel free to add any comments about cards that you would consider adding or cards that you would consider removing. I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm a big fan of building decks as a community, so please don't hesitate to provide some feedback. I'd love to hear it. Also, another thing that this deck doesn't currently have is a sideboard. I would love to understand, or I'd love to hear recommendations for what to put in the sideboard to make this best of 3 viable. So thank you so much. Also, if you are interested in doing community deck building live, I actually stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/HamHocks42 every weekday morning. And a lot of the times in our stream, we actually do build decks, actually. So that's something that, and if you have a particular idea for a deck, you can even spend channel points to make me build it live on stream. So please don't hesitate to check that out. The link to that is in the show notes as well. Please drop a follow if that sounds of interest to you. And yeah, let's take this thing out into the ladder. Let's get a couple games in and see what we can do with it. All right, so we have 2 Cherix in the opening hand, as well as the Thieves Tools and an Ancient Lumberknot. I'm pretty happy about that. However, we are on the play, and we only have 2 lands. So this is kind of a sketchy keep. We also have Geralf here as a decent 3-drop. Thieves Tools are going to give us a treasure token, though, so let's give it a shot. Let's see what we can do with this. I'm going to go throw the Shipwreck Marsh since we don't have a 1-drop anyway. Clearwater Pathway is going to be coming down on blue. That way we have access to the double blue necessary for Cherix later on. I'm going to go ahead and throw the Horde Robber here. The top deck Horde Robber could be good for us. We'll see. I'm really hopeful that, well, I was about to say that I'm really hopeful that we can get in for 1 damage here, but apparently that was, well, it was just a hope. It was just a hope, just a dream. All right, we're going to go ahead and play out the Thieves Tools here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and equip the Thieves Tools to the Hoard Robber. We are going to spend a treasure to do so. However, the Hoard Robber is now going to become unblockable, which means we create a treasure. So we net even on treasure, and now we have an unblockable Hoard Robber. So even if we don't draw into lands, we're going to have our mana solved, unless, of course, there's a Blizzard Brawl incoming, which there probably will be, let's be honest. All right. So the Werewolf Pack Leader is down. Tovalar, Dire Overlord, pretty darn good card. Yeah, that card is not bad. All right, so we are taking a little bit of heat here, and we are drawing into our lands, which is pretty nice. I'm very grateful for that. So at this point, we can throw the Ancient Lumberknot, but instead, I think I'm going to throw Cherix, swing in with the Horde Robber, create another treasure token, and then we're going to use the treasure tokens to move the Thieves Tools over to Cherix. Next turn, we're going to be able to throw the Ancient Lumberknot and punch our opponent for 17 directly in their face, which feels pretty darn good, assuming they don't have removal for Cherix. Which, given the fact that they are in red and green, leads me to believe they probably won't. So that's pretty nice. I am going to go ahead and block the Werewolf Pack Leader, just because it prevents 3 damage, so why not? Tovalar is going to draw them an extra card, because why not? You know, because why not draw cards from doing the things you were going to do anyway? All right, Werewolf Pack Leader is now live and online, as is yet another Werewolf Pack Leader. My goodness, that is a lot of Werewolf Pack Leaders. Ancient Lumberknot, I choose you. Let's go. Charix the Raging Isle is now going to punch directly for 17, bring them down to 1. Dope. All right, now we need to survive this turn, which is not a given, ladies and gentlemen. That is definitely going to be a challenge for us. However, if we do survive this turn and Cherix also survives, or any one of our creatures survives, sorry, actually, as long as our Ancient Lumberknot survives, we'll be okay. Because we'll be able to move the Thieves Tools around to any other one of our creatures. But the Ancient Lumberknot needs to survive in order for the combat damage to be based on toughness. All right, so we were able to get 1 shot in with Cherix. That felt pretty darn good. The fact that they have the triple Werewolf Pack Leader and Tovalar also means they are going to draw an obscene number of cards this turn if they just attack here. So all they need to do is attack. They'll draw 3 cards off the Werewolf Pack Leaders, and then 2 of them are going to connect. Actually, let's see. If we block one of them with the Horde Robber, 3, 6, 10. These can one of these can buff up by an additional 2. That's 12, puts me down to 2. I think I need to do that. This is not good. I'm not happy about it. Actually, you know what? I think I do need to block an additional 1 because of Tovalar's ability. Target wolf or werewolf you control with +X/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. That actually could be a huge problem. Additionally, another huge problem that we have right now is we do not have any islands. Therefore, we cannot buff Cherix with its own ability. So this hurts. This hurts. The fact that the Ancient Lumberknot is going to be hitting the bricks here is definitely a huge problem for us. And I'm assuming the Ancient Lumberknot is going to be hitting the bricks because they can use Tovolar's ability or the Werewolf Pack Leader's ability to buff itself. Or use a Wolf Strike. That works too. Ouch. All right. Horde Robber goes bye-bye. At this point, we really need to top deck an Ancient Lumberknot. If we do, we win. Or frankly, an island would even be acceptable. Yeah, because the slow lands, like the Shipwreck Marsh, are notably not the land types of their respective cards. Morbid Opportunist is a good card, but it is not good enough, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't do the job that we need it to. All right, so I'm going to throw... So at this point, we can throw just about anything, and it doesn't really matter. So we need blockers more than anything else, so I'm guessing I'm going to throw out the Morbid Opportunist, and we're going to keep Cherix back, but at this point, if they attack with all, we just lose. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But we were successful in getting them down to 1 life. We were able to successfully get them down to 1 life, and Everbrook Caretaker. Yeah, that's a fair and balanced Magic card, he said with heavy sarcasm. All right. Yeah, we're just toast here. They're going to draw all the cards in the world. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we put up a darn good fight, but in the end, we just got run over by werewolves. Gruul Werewolves is actually in a pretty good spot right now. There are a lot of very strong... Well, let me put it this way. There are a lot of strong cards in that archetype. Whether or not it's in a great spot right now is arguable, but it's a stronger deck than Big Booty Crabs. Who knew? All right, game 2, we've got the Meathook Massacre as well as double Cherix and a Catapult Fodder in the opening hand. Not an amazing hand, but we do have 3 lands. We've got plenty of spells. Meathook Massacre gives me hope, so let's run it out and see what we can do. And we're going up against what appears to be the mono black control list by virtue of them playing the Snow Covered Swamp and Eye Twitch. So I'm seeing that we're probably going to see a Blood on the Snow before this is over. That Eye Twitch is probably also not going to be alone. We're probably going to see Shambling Gas. They're probably keeping Deadly Dispute up here. Is what it looks like to me. Never mind, they aren't keeping it up. They're going to cast it immediately to create that treasure token and draw 2 cards. And they're going to go ahead and grab Environmental Sciences. They may have had a hand that was light on lands, but they have remedied that post-haste. All right. This is actually going to come down as a... I'm going to put it down as a black mana source so we have access to the Meathook Massacre, and Barkchannel Pathway can come in as the Tide Channel Pathway, so we have the double blue for Dragon Turtle. That was actually so we have the double blue for Dragon Turtle as well as Cherix. They're going to hit the Environmental Sciences, gain a little bit of life, go search up... Oh, search up a Snow-Covered Plain, so it is not a mono-black deck at all. This is, in fact, an Orzhov list. Interesting. Okay, I'm definitely intrigued as to where this is going. Professor of Symbology, great card, but they are going to spend that treasure token. All right, cool, cool, cool. Meathook Massacre might just have an opportunity here. And the fact that we just drew another Barkchannel Pathway actually makes me really happy. Like, really happy. That way... So I'm going to throw the Morbid Opportunist because it's a 1/3. This way we have access to Ancient Lumberknot if we were to draw it, because we can cast or throw this down as a green source. Ancient Lumberknot being the only green that we have in the deck. Second Environmental Sciences coming off the Professor of Symbology. Okay, grabbing a swamp this time. They're definitely having some mana issues, so they're off to a little bit of a slow start, it would seem, but they are getting the setup pieces that they need in order to get the mana lined up. And they're going to hit the Vanishing Verse on the Morbid Opportunist. As I mentioned in the deck tech, the Morbid Opportunist is a must-answer card. They chose to answer it. I cannot blame them. I would have done exactly the same thing. All right. This time, we got Cherix. We got Cherix on 4. Our O17 is now live and online. We have a Catapult Fodder and a Geralf in our hand. So we can throw either of these. Now, the other option that we had was to throw Geralf there, but because we have double Cherix, if our opponent still has more removal in hand, like another Vanishing Verse, for example, I want them to spend it on Cherix. Ooh, Edgar, Charm Groom. All right, cool, cool, cool. Good card. All right, we're gonna go ahead and throw this down as a black mana source because again, the only green that we have in this deck is the Ancient Lumberknot, and so the one green pip is all we need. It is plenty. All right, so we have an opportunity here. We could Meathook Massacre to get rid of the Professor of Symbology, but I'm kind of meh on that plan. So I think we're gonna throw Geralf here, or Geralf. Not exactly sure how to pronounce that, but well, here we are. So had we thrown Geralf first, we actually would be able to activate it and sack Cherix sooner, which would be nice, but alas, we'll be, we don't have that option, but we'll be okay. We also have Dragon Turtle now in hand. If we draw into another land, we'll be able to play the Catapult Fodder on our turn, hold up Dragon Turtle, and be able to pin down Edgar next turn. And that would be pretty darn cool. So Cherix is going to get in front of Edgar because that 0-17 backside is a big deal. All right, so what do we draw into next is the question. Now, I'm curious why they attacked with Edgar there. Oh, because they had the blood on the snow. Dagnabbit, yo. I hate it when I'm right. Like, I knew that the blood on the snow was coming. All right, and they just grabbed a mascot exhibition, so we are going to save the Meathook Massacre for said mascot exhibition. All right, so at this point, we only have 2 blue mana sources. We have 3 black mana sources, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that down as blue. I'm going to throw the Catapult Fodder here and hold up the mana for Dragon Turtle. And I had to hesitate there to make sure the auto tapper didn't tap me out, because that would have been a problem. I wanted to make sure that I had double blue available for the Dragon Turtle. All right. So lifelink tokens, kind of annoying, but not the end of the world. Lolth, the Spider Queen. Excellent card, capable of doing a lot of painful things directly to our face, not the least of which is send in a bunch of little spiders. All right, so prior to combat, I'm going to throw the Dragon Turtle. It's going to pin down... I'm just going to pin down one of the Spoders. They can't attack this turn anyway, but yeah, I just want to pin them down. What can I say? All right, we're going to throw Cherix here, followed by the Thieves Tools, and the Catapult Fodder is going to flip into the Catapult Captain. It is now a casual 2/6 with the Fling ability, which is pretty darn sweet. You'll love to see it. And at this point, all of our creatures also have toughness. Our weakest creature has toughness 5, which means that if we hit the Meathook Massacre on 4, assuming they cast out the Mascot Exhibition, which actually they don't have the mana for, we'll be able to completely wipe the board nice and clean. And that is beautiful. They're going to chip in for 2 damage here. We are going to kill the Professor of Symbology, which is going to put another counter on Lolth, the Spider Queen. So at this point, they don't have the mana for Mascot Exhibition, but I want to save the Meathook Massacre until they hit it. Also, if we top deck an Ancient Lumberknot, we'll be able to throw the Ancient Lumberknot, put the Thieves Tools on Cherix, swing, and then fling, and that would be pretty darn sweet. Not in one turn, unfortunately, but close. Very close. Another Blood on the Snow. My goodness. I've noticed that Blood on the Snow decks, when they go up against me, have a tendency to hit at least 2, if not 4 Blood on the Snows. I cannot tell you the number of times I've seen 3 Blood on the Snow resolve, even when my opponent's only seen 18 cards like we've seen here. So the double Blood on the Snow in a creature heavy deck hurts us a lot. Like a lot. I cannot stress enough how badly that hurts. Although you guys saw it. It's like you guys watched it. All right. I'm going to throw the Meathook Massacre here just to get rid of this board. Unfortunately, it is going to buff up Lolth, but it is going to get those spiders off the field. And we are going to gain a little bit of life back. Eddie's back again, tell a friend. All right, and we are out of cards in hand. The double Blood on the Snow just completely drained the wind out of our sails. Completely and totally. And so I'm thinking there's a very, very slim chance we win this game, but it's not over yet. The fact that we have now lost 2 Cherixes to Blood on the Snow really hurts. That is devastating, as a matter of fact. And they're going to Meathook Massacre to kill my Horde Robber as well. So at this point, mono black, well, this is Orzhov control and it's working. They are controlling the board. That is one thing. Control is a bad matchup for us because this deck is definitely better against aggro. But yeah, control is just rough for us because we're so dependent on all of our creatures. You'll notice all of our answers are creatures. And so as a result, if the creatures aren't allowed to stick on the board, which is what we're seeing here, we aren't allowed to set up our game plan. And that really stinks. Yeah, that's the one major issue with playing jank around creatures. When you play jank around creatures, board wipes have a tendency to really kick you in the teeth, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. So we've had multiple setups now where we were like a turn or two away from winning, and then the Blood on the Snow just completely drained it. So to be honest, this is probably scoopable. This is one of those moments where it's probably worth just picking up our cards and going home. But let's play it out and see what we draw into. At this point, they've got they've got enough damage on board. They've got enough damage on board. If we draw into, I'm trying to think of anything we could. Another Meathook Massacre is really the only hope. And they're going to hit the Mascot Exhibition. So if we don't top deck a Meathook Massacre, we're dead. And that's a land. That's not going to do it. So that's a scoop. All right. That's okay. Can't win them all. All right, game 3. Right now, the Cherix deck is 0-2. It's not quite coming together yet. This is a sketchy keep, but we are on the draw. And with it, we do have the double blue source for the Dragon Turtle, or we have a black source for the Hoard Robber or Thieves Tools. And Thieves Tools gives us the treasure, which could be beneficial. So I think this is keepable. I'm not in love with it, but it'll work. All right. Ruin Crab. Interesting. I think this is, I'm actually going to throw the Dreamroot Cascade here. That way we don't have to commit. We'll see one more card before we have to commit the pathway to either black or blue. Both would work nicely, and we're going up against Izzet here. Okay, so now I'm going to commit this to black, and we're going to go ahead and throw Hoard Robber, which is probably going to eat a Jawari Disruption or a Dragon's Fire. We'll see. I could be wrong. I often am. Ooh, Fading Hope. Okay. Secret option C, Fading Hope. And they're gonna scry. They're gonna keep one on top. I don't like seeing that. I much prefer it when my opponent doesn't like the cards they have on top of their library. All right, but we did draw into another land. Thank goodness. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the Hoard Robber here, and I'm also gonna throw the Ruin Crab. I should have thrown the Ruin Crab first. That way we'd mill a couple cards. But to be honest, I don't know if our opponent is gonna take advantage of their graveyard or not. So I'm not. Well, probably not, given that they're in Izzet. But you never know. So now they're debating whether or not to hit this with Jawari Disruption or Divide by Zero. Man, that card is so good. Bounce right now is in at a whole other level. Fading Hope, Divide by Zero, and Hullbreaker Horror are phenomenal bounce cards that just completely take over the game. And the fact that we've gotten hit by both of those so far, I mean, the chances of us stabilizing and really setting up a board state before our opponent does is really not looking good. And that sounds hyperbolic. That sounds like I'm being extreme, but in my experience, that's not really the case. In my experience, getting bounced early against the Izzet deck likely means it's over. Now, I believe they already hit their land drop for turn, so that mountain going into the exile zone is going to be a lost card for them, which I'm pretty grateful for. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and swing with the Hoard Robber to see if we can play out a Cherix here. Give me that treasure. Booyah, let's go. You know what? And instead of playing out the Cherix, I'm actually going to play out a Ruin Crab and another Hoard Robber. Next turn, we'll be able to play the Catapult Fodder and flip it immediately, which is going to be pretty fantastic. And also, if both Hoard Robbers end up being able to swing, the treasure tokens are going to be a huge boon for us. So I'm hopeful there. All right, our opponent's got 5 mana back, and they've got 5 cards in hand, one of which is a Mascot Exhibition. I'm not in love with this. This is not the position that I really wanted to be in. We're going to throw the Catapult Fodder before combat. That way we can flip into the Catapult Captain immediately if it's going to flip. And then who knows if it's going to stay flipped. We shall see. I mean, I'm also tempted to hit the Attack All button. That way we can swing with the Ruin Crab as well, just to assert dominance. Doesn't do anything else. I'm not actually going to do that, though, because that's a kind of a jerk move. All right. So it looks like the Horde Robbers are going to get in unless they draw into another Fading Hope here. Yeah, so this Is It deck, this appears to be just the Is It Turns deck. The thing about the Is It Turns deck is it doesn't look like it does much at first. The first couple of turns, it's jockeying for position with cards like Expressive Iteration and Memory Deluge, and then bouncing key threats to keep itself alive. But then the moment it gets into the late game, like that Fading Hope on the Catapult Fodder was big time. Fortunately for us, we do get the treasure token, so we are able to throw the Catapult Fodder again. Unless, if they have a burn down the house, that actually would be a huge problem. So I think I'm going to hold them. All right. So what they do is they just hold off until they can hit a Galvanic Iteration into an Alrund's Epiphany. And if they, especially if they already have like a Goldspan Dragon or a Smoldering Egg that's been flipped into the Ashmouth Dragon, if they have that kind of a setup online, then all of a sudden 2 Alrund's Epiphanies back to back is enough to just win the game. And there's nothing you can do about it. Which definitely, you know, it hurts, but it's not the end of the world. And so that's what they're setting up for, it looks like. And so what we need to do is find a way to apply pressure directly to their face before they can set that up. And it's not looking great for us, if I'm honest. The Thieves Tools plus Cherix is interesting. I'm guessing, so I'm thinking right now that the Morbid Opportunist may not be enough card draw for us. So I'm thinking those Deadly Disputes that I was considering while we were doing the deck tech might actually make sense here. I think Deadly Disputes in favor of, or putting in Deadly Disputes. Let's go ahead and throw the Dragon Turtle, even though we don't have anything to pin down. Putting in Deadly Disputes might actually be meaningful for us. Yeah, in place of the Meathook Massacres, that might be worth it. Yeah, I was considering that when I was actually, it was an idea that came to me while I was filming the deck tech for this video. And it was a very authentic moment, which I appreciate. And yeah, and maybe that makes sense. Or, I mean, we do have access to blue, so maybe something like a Thirst for Discovery or Memory Deluge would actually fit nicely in here as well. Certainly couldn't hurt. All right, and our opponent is debating on whether or not to counter this, it looks like. Because they know they have the Catapult Fodder in hand, so the question is, do you counter... assuming that they're sitting on a counter spell. They only have 2 mana up, so if they are sitting on a counter spell, it would be a Jawari Disruption. So the question is, do you hit it with... It's presumably a Jawari Disruption. Could be many things. Could be an Essence Scatter, or anything of the like. But if they have a Divide by 0 or something like that, it's not going to hit. And so they choose to let the Dragon Turtle resolve after much deliberation, which I'll take it. I will absolutely take it. All right. I'm going to try to throw the Catapult Fodder. They may hit it with a Jawari Disruption, but I really want to get this thing online. And I want to get it online, and I want to get it flipped. So it is coming online. Maybe they don't have the Jawari Disruption. Horde Robbers coming in. Doing a little bit of damage. Getting our opponent down to 15. That actually is not a bad spot for us to be in. Ching ching. Let's go. And now we could throw the Thieves Tools down. I think I'm going to do just that, actually. I'm going to throw the Thieves Tools here. It's going to create a treasure token for us. And it's going to be able to give one of our creatures unblockable, which is pretty fantastic. Now, so giving the Dragon Turtle unblockable is probably the best situation here. And to be honest, it's really only if they hit the Mascot Exhibition is that going to be relevant. Ooh, just kidding. They now have a Goldspan Dragon. That actually might change things a little bit. The other cool thing about the Thieves Tools is we had to spend treasure to get it online, but by getting that 1 treasure back immediately gives us an opportunity to play out Cherix next turn, even if we don't hit a land. So that's nice. But we do hit a land. Huzzah. And there was much rejoicing. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and swing with the team here. And at this point, Catapult Captain having a 6 toughness is very relevant for us. So this is going to be 5, 6, 7 damage, potentially. 7 damage gets through. We get a couple treasure tokens. You'll love to see it. All right. Time for Charix the Raging Isle to enter the fray. Could have kept the catapult captain back, and that actually could have been lethal potentially. So that may have been a punt on my part. Had I kept the catapult captain back, they would be at 10 life, and we'd have the 3 treasures to be able to activate the catapult captain, fling Cherix directly into their face, and call it a day. So that was a missed opportunity on my part. But we have reached a point right now where if they do not have an answer to the catapult captain or Cherix, they can get one or the other off the field. Ooh, that Hullbreaker Horror is probably going to do the job. That Hullbreaker Horror does a lot of jobs. Now, if they have a 1-mana spell to follow this up, like a Fading Hope or a Consider, or they just attack with the Goldspan Dragon, have 3 mana now available. If any one of those cards is a spell that can cost less than 3, or 3 or less, I should say. Like, if they have a Divide by 0, we're hosed. There's nothing we can do. Hullbreaker Horror is too good. Yes, I said it. Hullbreaker Horror is too good. The 7/8 for 7 that turns every single that can't be countered with flash, that turns every single spell into a Divide by 0. Like, that's insane to me. But anyway, we'll see if they have it, because at the end of the day, if they don't have, I mean, they only have 3 cards that we don't know of in hand. They don't have the ability to flashback Memory Deluge or cast a Mascot Exhibition, so they may not have another spell that they can actually hit right here. And if they don't, we win the game. So it comes down to, what are those 3 cards? That's really the question. If they untap, which we cannot allow them to do, if they untap, we're hosed here. Oh, but they have the Prismari command. They're going after the Horde Robber. The Hullbreaker Horror is probably going to bounce the Catapult Captain. No, they're going to bounce Cherix. Okay. All right. I can live with that. I can absolutely live with that. So now the Prismari command has created an additional treasure token. Let's see, do they have another one? They have a Cinderclasm. All right. Now, what do they bounce with the... What are they bouncing with the Hullbreaker Horror is the question. They're going to bounce the Dragon Turtle? Do it. Do it. Bounce the Dragon Turtle. Come on, do it. Not the Catapult Captain. Dang it. Yeah, no, we needed that Catapult Captain to stay on the field. All right. No, we needed the Catapult Captain to stay on the field. Without that, I don't think we can finish this game out. So we have the mana to play the Catapult Captain and the Cherix. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 mana available, which means we can kill the Goldspan Dragon with the Meathook Massacre, but we will not be able to kill the Hullbreaker Horror, unfortunately. So I think, actually, what we do here... is we keep our mana back and we swing with the team. So let's see what they choose to block here. They choose to block the Dragon Turtle. Perfect. All right, now, all of a sudden, we have the mana for a meaningful Meathook Massacre. So Meathook Massacre on 5. It's going to kill our Horde Robber, but it's also going to get rid of their entire board because currently they are tapped out. Booyah, baby. All right. Guess who's still in this thing? We're still in this thing. All right, and we're going to gain a little bit of life, ping them for a little bit. You love to see it. All right, and we have the Catapult Fodder and Cherix in hand. Now, we need a 3rd creature with toughness greater than its power in order to flip the Catapult Fodder into the Catapult Captain. Without that, we're just going to get overrun by the Mascot Exhibition Brigade here. So, yeah. So our opponent has 2 damage in the air that we can't deal with right now. Smoldering Egg is going to be a mild inconvenience for us, really. So an Ancient Lumberknot off the top would be pretty sick here. That would actually give us the ability to swing in with Cherix and the Thieves Tools and call it a day, which would be pretty dope. The other thing we can do here is if we get a Ruin Crab or a that's not what I was looking for. A Ruin Crab or a Horde Robber. Those would also be really useful here. But alas, it is not to be. All right. And might as well equip the Thieves Tools. The fact that we've got double Cherix online, we do have 1 island. So that's something. We're going to make the team unblockable because we can. Because why not, after all? Catapult Fodder is going to chip in for 1 here. Because homie is unblockable, which is always nice. And we still have Cherix back. Now, at this point, they'll be able to swing with both the 4/4 and the 3/2. We block the 4/4, 3 damage gets through. I'm not overly happy about that, but I'm also not heartbroken about it either. The attack was fairly aggressive. especially now that they've flashed back the Memory Deluge, flip the Ashmouth Dragon, and then draw a bunch of cards. So potentially problematic. We'll see. If we top deck an Ancient Lumberknot, we just straight up win the game. If we top deck another creature that has toughness greater than its power, we should win the game. We're actually in pretty good position here. The one thing that I am very grateful for is our opponent has not hit any epiphanies yet. Meathook Massacre. Well, I mean, we have to hit it. All right, so maybe Meathook doesn't go anywhere. I was considering taking it out of this list, and I don't think that's the case anymore. Gonna Meathook on 4, wipe that board clean. Let's go. And we gained a bunch of life. Feels good. Feels real good. All right, so the Crab Butts matching up nicely against Is It Epiphany? Never would have thought. Or Is It Dragons, I should say. It doesn't quite look like the Epiphany list, but I know they're running them. I'll be shocked if they don't have Epiphany in the list. And miraculously, they haven't been hitting the Epiphanies yet, which is kind of nice. All right, what do we draw? Another land. That is not helpful. That is so not helpful. All right. All right, so Cherix becomes a 116. We are swinging for 2 damage. Boom, baby. Oh, I could have activated Cherix again and swung for an additional 1. Oh, well, we'll be okay. So let's see. There are a lot of things we could draw here that is going to make this... Yeah, we could have activated that one more time. But we got him! Yes! All right. So who knew the Cherix beatdown with its own ability is ultimately what won us the game. But that was a phenomenal way to end this. So the deck did end up going 1-2. Not an amazing record for 3 games. It is a small sample size, to be fair. But at the same time, like... it put up an interesting show in all of those matchups. So I gotta say, this has been a ton of fun. Thank you for checking out the video. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and go ahead and even leave a comment. That really helps the algorithm. Lets YouTube know that you're liking what I'm doing. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a phenomenal day, and I will catch you next time.